Rebellions are built on hope.
Incoming transmission. Radio Rebellion.
Welcome to another episode of Radio Rebellion, a Star Wars podcast. I am your host, as always, Alberto Calderon, and thank you for being here on another great Star Wars Saturday evening. Thank you guys for joining us, as always. We appreciate it. Talking Star Wars, talking with you guys, it's always a nice time, and it's no better time to talk Star Wars than today. We have a great topic to get into and a great guest. It's one of those people that when you find a topic you want to talk about and the guest is extremely excited, and we're gonna learn something today. So very happy for our guests and how much fun we're gonna have as we go on talking about Rebel Rising and Rogue One and Jyn Erso, her story in Star Wars so far. Who knows? Might we see her somewhere else? People are popping up everywhere, so we'll see. A couple of Star Wars stories or Star Wars news that happened this week. Star Wars Vision was unveiled last weekend, I think, or last Friday. We got our first look at Star Wars Vision. That looks extremely interesting. All those small short stories that we're going to get from Japanese movie studios are going to be very interesting. And then the new novel, Ronin, also based on those Vision stories, is coming out in August, I think. And we got our first look at the cover and the synopsis. So very interesting stuff out there for Star Wars Visions. And of course, Bad Batch. We had a new episode of Bad Batch yesterday, and we'll talk a little bit about it. So yeah, that's it. You guys had a good week, good Star Wars week for you guys. Let me know, as always, either in the comments or in the chat. If you're watching this live, don't forget to hit that like button, that thumbs up. We appreciate it. And if you're watching later on the replay, also just hit like, leave us a comment. What do you think about Jyn Erso's story? Rebel Rising by Beth Revis, a great novel out there. If you guys haven't read it, go check it out. We'll be talking a lot about it. A great book. Took me a little bit to get into it. Finally got it. Love reading it. And Rogue One. Let us know what you think about Rogue One and all this Star Wars stuff going out there. Make sure you subscribe to our show so you don't miss out anytime we have a new episode. And if you're listening to this on the audio podcast when it comes out later this week, thank you also. Make sure that you rate, leave us a review. We love reading those. So yeah, that's it. Gotta bring this guest on and start talking Star Wars. So if you guys are ready, let's bring our guests from the Followers of the Force podcast. It's Rachel. How you doing, Rachel?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. It's Saturday. I always kind of go, my week is like this, thinking about Star Wars and thinking about the podcast. Sometimes, yeah, let's talk Star Wars. Sometimes, the last week's episode didn't do too well, so I'm kind of down. But when Saturday gets here, it goes right back up. We're just here. We're talking Star Wars. And said backstage, thank you for being here. I know you were busy, just came straight out of work. So I do appreciate it when I have guests, because when just a guy talking Star Wars, it's always good to have someone else to talk to. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to be able to come and talk to different people.
Yeah, you learn so much talking to different people in this space, talking about Rogue One, for example, which is this movie that a lot of people love when it came out. Some people have been kind of down on it just because they like to be downers. But I've seen, the more I talk to people here in this space since I started my show, is the reason for why they love Rogue One. It's different from why I love it and why a lot of people out there love it. So when you talk Rogue One, the first thing people, that third act, that battle of Scarif and Vader at the end. Yeah, those are all great. But then talking to you a little bit, and we're going to get into it, the reason you like Rogue One, it's probably different why. And then I was speaking with Maggie Lovett a few months ago. She was here actually. And if I'm not mistaken, her favorite movie is Rogue One, but it's because of Cassian Andor and how that got her into activism and all that stuff. So it's very different when you start talking to fans out there, the reason why they like certain movies. So we'll get into your reason for liking Rogue One in a minute. But like I was saying before, Bad Batch came out last week, even though we're not doing weekly recaps anymore. First off, are you enjoying the Bad Batch so far? And then what do you thought, very quick, about yesterday's episode?
I am enjoying the Bad Batch, although I have been part of the retweet campaign about unwhitewashing it as well. There are problems with it, but I have been enjoying it, and I really enjoyed this week's. I was late to watching Rebels. I'm still in like the last 5 episodes
Okay.
of Rebels. Yeah, all of the pain has happened. It hurts right now, so I had to take a break. But so to see that connection to the people I meet later in Rebels this week was really fantastic.
Yeah, I watched Rebels when it came out, but I wasn't too much into it. And yeah, it's a great show, but whatever. But then I rewatched it last year, and it's like, no, there's a great story here. Once you know the whole story, and then you can sit back, take all those things. Oh, that's a filler episode, or they didn't need this, they didn't need that. Once you know the whole story, and you can see how it connects. And I've been a bit critical for the Bad Batch, not because I think it's a bad show. I think it is a really good show, but it's not a show that calls to me too much. But I was thinking today, maybe it's the same thing as Rebels, that once we see the whole story and then I go back and watch it, I can see how every piece falls into place and I'll appreciate it a little bit more. We've mentioned here a little bit about the whitewashing issue. It's known, and we haven't talked too much about it. We've mentioned it. But yeah, last week episode or yesterday's episode was a very good episode, especially for those Rebel fans. Got into story. I'm gonna mention a few spoilers, so if you're not caught up, just come back in about 2 minutes. So seeing Hera and seeing Chopper was great. Seeing Cham, and and then I go, this is why when we talk about there is Star Wars for everyone. Even if I don't like Bad Batch, that's fine. Someone else is gonna like it. I was watching it because I watch it with my daughter, and she loves Rebels and she loves Chopper. When she saw Chopper, there's Chopper, I love him so much. So then I went like, okay, it doesn't matter if I like this episode or this show. My daughter, the next generation, really enjoyed this episode. They're not concerned about all this. Is the galaxy too small? Are they retconning stuff? They're just having fun with it. So in that sense, I calm down a little bit. Let someone else enjoy it.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that because I more than I wanted to see Hera because I'd seen the leaked titles and that there was mention of Ryloth.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh cool, I wonder if we're gonna see Hera. And my first thought was, oh my god, are we gonna see Chopper? I love Chopper. I somewhere at Target I got a little when the droids were like on sale for a third of their price, like the little stuffed ones. I have a little stuffed Chopper that I have just because he's amazing.
Yeah, he is.
But I was really, really excited about it. I love that it's showing how the Empire's rising because we've seen where the Empire gets, but we haven't seen, and we saw where they started, but we haven't seen that progression yet.
Yeah.
We kind of saw Rogue One and Rebels where it wasn't quite full at the level it was at New Hope, but it was pretty close.
Yeah.
But this is filling in that gap. That's really a really big time that we don't have a lot of Star Wars between Revenge of the Sith and Rebels.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about this show. The parts that call to me are those empire, how the empire is growing, how it is extending to all these different planets that were part of the rebellion or the separatists or the republic or whatever, and how now the empire is coming as their savior, and now they're just pushing you away. And I do love that stuff. It was great seeing it. Unfortunately also saw the leaks because yesterday was the worst. People didn't care. They just posted everything yesterday.
I didn't get spoiled, but that's only because I watched before I'd been on Twitter, but I watched it like 8 a.m. when I first got going.
So since I watch it with my daughter, I can't wake up at 6 and watch it. I could, but I don't want to. And I usually, okay, I don't get too many spoilers, but yesterday by 10 in the morning, people were posting little things. Oh, if you're a Rebels fan, you really enjoy today's show. And then someone posted a picture of Chopper or something. And I was like, okay, Rebels is coming, Chopper's gonna be there. That's fine. It's not that big. And then someone posted the actual picture of Hera. I'm like, oh, come on, really? You couldn't wait? Couldn't wait a little bit?
The official Star Wars account at like noon yesterday posted something about it, and I was surprised because normally they're pretty good about it.
Yeah, they usually wait till about Monday, and even the little clip is not that spoilery. But yeah, yesterday, 12 at noon. Oh, here's Hera, Chopper, and Cham, and all the Syndulas, and the new clone.
Maybe they thought that people wouldn't care because it wasn't a spoiler about the Bad Batch themselves.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was more excited for them than I was for the Bad Batch. I love the Bad Batch, but
yeah. And at the same time, was it? It's a spoiler, but it doesn't spoil the story of the
No.
episode. You saw Hera, and I was sorry. It's the same thing. If we see that in the trailer for the show, like we did that, we saw Rex in the trailer, we know it's coming. It's not really a spoiler.
Yeah.
So I know it spoils the surprise, but it didn't affect the episode or enjoying the episode. So at that point, okay, a little surprise, but it wasn't that big of a spoiler. All right, so let's say hello to our friend Dale. How you doing, Dale? Thanks for being here.
Hey,
So
Dale.
we'll have some fun. If you guys are out there watching live, jump in the chat, say hi. We like saying hi back and see how things are going. So I like sometimes I stop asking this question, but I used to ask my guests, have you ever been when we're in this circle that we're Star Wars fan from years and we know a lot of things, people kind of, oh, that's the Star Wars guy, the Star Wars girl. Have you ever gotten or have you received or given out any weird Star Wars gift? Something that someone, oh, she likes Star Wars. I'm just gonna give her something like, okay, thanks. It's kind of weird, but I'll take it. Have you gotten any weird Star Wars gift like that?
I don't think so much because most people, I got into Star Wars as an adult.
Mhm.
So most of the Star Wars gifts I get are something I specifically ask for.
Okay.
The weird Star Wars gift I got was something I was absolutely completely thrilled by. I had a really rough year last year. I ended a relationship and I had 3 grandparents pass away in 1 year. So
Sorry.
when it came time for Christmas, one of my friends said, I need you to stop by my house. I have something for you. And it's when COVID was surging again. So I wasn't meeting up with my friends, but we'd meet up on the porch briefly.
Sure.
So I go and she hands me a bag and I open it. It is like it's a headband that's a pair of Yoda ears with a Santa hat on top.
Okay.
And I wore those to work. And I work in an office. We didn't have visitors, so that's not like a public facing job.
Sure.
I wore those to work for a week because I had my Yoda Santa ears.
I do have those. So I have a Santa Claus, a Santa hat with Yoda ears. I think it says Star Wars on top. So I do have those.
I had that. I had to put them on another headband because the headband they were on broke. So I transplanted them. So at one point last Christmas, there's a picture of me laying beneath my parents' Christmas tree so I could get all of my top half in the picture. I'm wearing a Yoda Santa headband, a Christmas mask that has Yoda putting the star on Christmas trees because I made masks as a business last year. And I'm wearing my Christmas t-shirt, which has Darth Vader and says, I find your lack of cheer disturbing. And my mom's like, we used to dress up for Christmas Eve. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this is formal.
Yeah, I'm fine here.
Oh yeah, and I came to Christmas dinner formal too, but I was wearing her Universe Admiral Holdo dress, and my mom's like, okay, let me ask this again. Do you have clothing that didn't come from Star Wars?
Yeah, maybe in the back. We don't talk about it too much. Yeah, I wore my Santa ears to work also. I usually try every year. So I mentioned here before, one of the weirdest gifts I got. A friend of mine from this work, I'm not doing it, but a coworker, she went to backpacking through Europe, or she went to Europe, and then brought me this book. It's from The Force Awakens. The only problem is it's in Hungarian, so it's a Hungarian Force Awakens picture book in Hungary, no English or Spanish or anything, so I can't read it. And then it has some masks that you can just pull out. It has Chewbacca, Stormtroopers, and Kylo Ren. So I have a Hungarian Star Wars book. And then last year, during one of those Christmas giveaway or exchange at work, someone gave me this, which is just green beans. But they know I like Star Wars and I don't eat vegetables. So Alberto, eat veggies you must with little baby Yoda. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of fun stuff. So as we start getting closer to our main topic, talking about Jyn, Rebel Rise, and all that, what's your Star Wars story? If you can remember the first, maybe not the first time that you watched a Star Wars movie, but the time that you really got invested into it, and how that translated to now being part of Followers of the Force, having your own podcast, being on shows. How was that transition from it's just a movie to no, this is part of my life?
I actually got into being a Star Wars fan kind of late. I got to the age of 18 without ever having seen a Star Wars movie. The first one I saw was Phantom Menace, and I watched it in the cafeteria at my community college on the big TV there with all of my friends because we'd bring DVD players and hook them up and, have fun.
Yeah.
And I saw that. My boyfriend a couple years later showed me A New Hope. because I'd never seen it. And then it kind of dropped. I think we'd watch part of Empire, but I knew the basics, the pop culture stuff, but I didn't know much. I knew enough because my sister had a roommate who was into the prequels, so I knew a little bit about those. Then when Force Awakens started coming out, I had just graduated college. I was living on my own, and my boyfriend at the time's like, you know what? If you want to go, I'll take you this weekend. You can see what all the fuss is about. But he was going on opening night, and he would have taken me on opening night, but I had norovirus, which is the one where you can't hold down water at that point. I was really sick. So I'm laying in bed, miserably wishing of death at this point because it sounded like it'd be more fun. And I'm scrolling Facebook and I'm reading the comments in a parenting article or something. I'm trying to distract myself. There's a spoiler for Force Awakens. The first night, I'm like, I have been spoiled on a Star Wars movie before I knew what a Star Wars movie officially was. So
do you remember what the spoiler was?
It was said Kylo Ren's the son of Han and Leia. He kills Han Solo, and the picture of the lightsaber going through Han.
A small spoiler.
A little bit. And so, I texted my boyfriend because he said, "Oh, it was a great movie." And I said, "Did Han Solo die?" Because I'd seen New Hope, so I liked Han Solo. Yeah. And he goes, "Yeah, he did. Where'd you get that?" I'm like, people on the internet are mean. And so a couple days later, we went to go see the movie. We had to sit in like the front row in the 3D because he wanted to see it in 3D. And I don't do front row or 3D movies. So I'm pretty sure my eyes didn't uncross for a week. But from that first moment you see Kylo Ren, I loved this movie. And then I watched the other 6 of them. And then I bought merchandise. And so I went back to school. I was a teacher's aide at the time. So I went back to school and all the kids thought it was really cool that I liked Star Wars now because I had Star Wars stuff to give them as prizes. And, I was carrying around a mug that said join the First Order, which they knew meant that if I'm carrying the Kylo Ren mug, don't talk to Miss Rachel because it's not going to be a good day.
Oh, no.
No, they're like, if there's still coffee in the big mug, don't talk to her. And so then when 2016 rolled around, this is rolling into Rogue One, coming in to Rogue One, it was when there was a lot going on in America, obviously with politics, which had been something that shook me up. I'm fairly into that. And then I was making the choice to go to graduate school. I was moving in with my boyfriend. So I was in the process of moving. I had half my life was in boxes. And I didn't know what was going on because I was starting grad school at a time when we didn't know where the country was going. Yeah. And I saw Rogue One. And that message of getting back the hope that you lost meant so much to me for that next 4 years. And I would say it's weird because Rogue One is my favorite movie ever. Not just my favorite Star Wars movie, it's my favorite movie. But it's the one that I only saw once in theaters because I was so busy I couldn't do anything. But I kept that with me and I love that movie. And then when I got on Twitter, I found out there's a bunch of other people that like that movie. But yeah, from there, I ended up on Followers of the Force. I guest hosted with them before Rise of Skywalker came out because I was a podcaster, but I was a true crime podcaster. And then about the point I wrapped up my true crime podcast last year, they said, "Hey, we want to get some women on this show. We'd like you to, let us know what you want to do, and maybe you can co-host." And so I joined with a group of 5 other women. And so that's been fun. It's been fun to be able to have a place where I have the designated time to yell about Star Wars every week.
Yeah, not just walking down the street at someone, just Star Wars, did you watch it?
My coworker, who I used to be on the same shift as him, now we overlap, but he's also a huge Star Wars fan. So like Fridays at shift change, did you watch it?
Just walking by.
Yeah, my boss is like, "What are they yelling about?" And my coworker's done into is like, "Don't ask questions.
Yeah, they're fine. Don't worry about it.
The happier you're going to be."
Yeah. It's fun in a not really sort of way that Rogue One came at that point in the country that a lot of people that gravitate towards it, not just for the fun back half of the movie, for the political aspect and activism, is because of the way that country was and the way Jyn Erso and Cassian kind of deal with all this, what's going on in their lives, very similar. So it's very interesting to see that point of view that from my point, I didn't see it that way. Oh, yes, that last act is great and everything happens before. when talking to other people, like I mentioned, talking to yourself, talking with Maggie, I start seeing it from a different point of view. And when I watched it yesterday, which is very different after reading Rebel Rising, then you can see all those building blocks and why it might be important for certain people out there. So it's great to hear that from you also. Our friend Arsu, who's going to be here next week, actually, with Maggie, talking about the rising storm, talking about heartbreaks. So Arsu says she was spoiled. She saw the same spoil that you did for The Force Awakens. So at least you have someone there to share in that pain. Our friend Roberto Venegas, Robert Dross is here. Hello, Alberto and Rachel. Don't go too far, Robert. Roberto, we have your question. I have your question. We're going to answer it later on. So thank you for being here, as always, and for sending in your question.
Shout out to Arzu, who got to hear my thoughts on Rising Storm, where like after the ending, all I could do was scream at her in a direct message for like an hour.
Yeah, I heard that you guys were on a.
I was like, I have no idea what just happened, but it's terrifying.
Yeah, I'll hear all those thoughts next week when she's here.
Oh yeah.
So talking about Rogue One, of course, and Rebel Rising, we have the Andor show coming. Are you excited for the Cassian Andor TV show?
I am so excited. When they started leaking photos from it, somebody had to text me to make sure I was breathing. They're like, "Oh my God, there was Andor leaks. Somebody go check on Rachel. She might have died on us." I'm like, "I'm here."
Yeah,
I'm hyperventilating, but I'm here.
I'm really excited for Andor. For when they announced, not that big announcement in December, but they had Andor, I think Obi-Wan, and then just Mandalorian were the only ones that were.
I think.
Yeah, Andor, even though Obi-Wan is one of my favorite characters, the Andor story is the one that really interests me, because that back when we meet him in Rogue One, which I'm not going to talk too much because we'll do it as we go. Actually, we can just talk about it right now. Who cares? The way we meet him killing this informant in Tivik, cold blood, this resistance spy or rebel spy that we think are the bad guys. And then he says, everything I did for the rebellion. What else did he do in that time period?
Yeah.
It's very interesting time period. Like you mentioned, talking about the Bad Batch, also the beginning of the Empire crushing everyone. Are we going to see that the Empire growing and then the rebellion doing all these different tactics that Mon Mothma probably didn't agree too much with all of them? That really interests me.
Yeah, I can't wait, because it's the moment where I think you saw it in Solo, where we met Han Solo as this kind of snarky, cynical guy. But then Solo showed you why he was like that, what happened to him to make him that person. And that was the point when I saw Rogue One, when he shoots Tivik in the back, that I went, huh, this is a different kind of hero. If this is our hero, this is a different kind of hero. And I want to know what makes him tick. And to see what took that man to the place where he was clearly, there's this line in Rogue One that really popped out to me. Something about a prison. I think you carry yours inside your head, Captain. There's a lot to him.
Yeah,
No,
sorry. Go ahead. Finish up.
Just the fact that Diego Luna is so excited to be doing it again. He loves being in Star Wars. He loves being able to do it. I'm starting the Twitter campaign for somebody to let him touch Jabba the Hutt, because
he has to.
He's so excited.
Yeah, Diego Luna is one of those great ambassadors for Star Wars. When he booked Rogue One, this smile on his face in every interview put a smile on my face. So just give him that opportunity to play this character again, and hopefully see Jabba. Jabba's around. We know he's around. Hopefully he has to be there. But I saw that yesterday.
As an executive producer, I feel like he can pull that string just on the PPs.
Either Jabba or I walk. But I saw that part yesterday when they're in that prison, when Saw Gerrera gets them, and they're talking about being in the prison, and Cassian says, "Oh, this is a first for me," and then he goes, "Oh, there's more than one prison. I sense that you carry yours with you," or something like that. It hits hard because and then it goes to at the end where he talks about everything I did was for the rebellion, we're spies, saboteurs, whatever, everything he's done, he has to carry with him, and it's something.
It hits hard when you think about exactly what every person in that cast went through. I mean, Bodhi's having the worst day of his life. I mean, Lord Gullet is the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael, for being here as always. I'm not the emperor. I try to be a little bit nicer, but sometimes when Michael gets here, I do have to kick him out sometimes. Um,
Every now and then I'm like, you know what? I feel like I'm a nice person, but if they let me be the evil overlord of the world, I could probably fix a few things.
yeah, yeah, we always say that's what emperors always think. Just give me a little bit of power, I'll fix it. By the end, it's mine. Get out of my way.
Unlimited power.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's go ahead and if you guys are ready, I know Rich is ready, I'm ready. Let's talk Star Wars. And today we're talking A Rebel Rises. We're talking about Jyn Erso, Rebel Rising, and Rogue One, Andor, anything that comes in, we'll talk about it. So let's start with Rebel Rising, this great novel by Beth Revis. It's here. You have the same cover as I do. Great.
I do. Mine's just beat up because I got it secondhand.
Don't worry, I got mine from thrift bookstores. Yeah, there you go. So, same place. There you go. We connected. We knew what we were doing.
We shop at the same store, clearly.
So for me, I didn't get in. I've heard a lot about Rebel Rising, and everything I heard about it was great reviews, how it does so much for Jyn Erso and for the story of Rogue One, but I've never read it. And then about 2 weeks ago, I was on vacation. I had Rebel Rising hadn't come out. I didn't have anything to read. So I got Dooku Jedi Lost that we talked about a few weeks ago, and then I got Rebel Rising. It was about $4 or $5. I'm gonna get it and see what all the hype is about. And it just blew me away how much it does for this character of Jyn Erso. Did you read it right when it came out, or did you also wait a little bit? And before we get into it, what are your general thoughts about it?
I also waited. I don't think I read it. I tried to order a bunch of Star Wars books when I was going on a cruise in 2019, and none of them came in time because occasionally Thrift Books does this to me. But I had ordered it. I had been reading some Star Wars books because my coworker buys all the new hardcovers and I read them from him. But I had really liked Jyn, and when I saw I didn't even know this book existed, so I thought I'd read it, and I read it all in about like 5 hours the first time because I went all the way through it. I love it. I love what it does for her character as a rebel, as a person, and it really fills in because it goes from the moment you see, her go into the cave in.
Mhm.
Excuse me, the prologue of Rogue One, up to when she meets Cassian and gets off the transport. So it literally just fills in that gap. And it just fits perfectly right in there, which, again, with a movie like Rogue One, it's hard to have any supplemental material because we know how the story ends,
Yeah.
which hurts a lot every time I read this book.
One of those things as you're watching it, are they really gonna kill everyone? Is there a way that they can survive? Because there were rumors, I think, before the movie came out that some of the actors had signed multiple deals for multiple movies or something. But then it's so close to A New Hope. Where are they, right? And then slowly, one by one, start going down. No, someone needs to survive. And they
I
did.
got to the point with this, like, where this movie absolutely destroys me. Find me on the weekends on AO3 reading Fix-It fan fiction. But if, like, I had the unlimited magic wand of Lucasfilm, I don't know if I'd change that ending because it's so perfect. It
Yes.
hurts, but it's right. I think I realized that they weren't getting out of it about the point K2 died.
Mhm.
Because I was talking to a friend. My friends and I did a script reading of Rogue One for my birthday, and I was talking to my friend or an actor who came in to play Cassian, and he's like, "No, like I realized they're going on a suicide mission." I'm like, "Oh, I was naive enough to not realize that for a while."
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't remember when I kind of imagined all of them not surviving, but that K2 or so death was hard. And that's one of those points when you get to a movie and you say, okay, they're taking it serious because of all the people to kill the droid, but it's the droid that we all love. At the point that Jyn gives him the gun and he goes, "Oh, you always surprise me." It's like, oh no, he finally gets what he wants and you're taking him away from me. Why are you doing this?
it's like, and I was telling someone I rewatched Rogue One yesterday and this morning to go through it again just to make sure it's all fresh. Oh, hi K2. And I was like, okay, I was a big girl. I didn't cry when Galen gave his message. shed a few tears when Cassian says "Welcome home" because I'm a sap.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like, I just send in my group chat because my friend who was watching with me couldn't finish the movie with me today. So I just sent in my group chat, locking the vault doors, goodbye. And my friend's like, why? Why would you say that?
Yeah.
I'm like, because now y'all have to feel it with me.
I can't hold it with Galen's message. Even if it's a little one back there, it always gets me. I don't know if it's the parent in me, but seeing a parent talking to her daughter that she hasn't seen, and then we'll just go back and forth. Rebel Rising, she hates him so much because he left me. He's working with the Empire. He doesn't care about me. To then finally, how many, like 15 years later, whatever, 12, see this message and he still loves her so much. Oh, my Stardust. And she breaks
loses
down.
him again.
Yes. And she saw him there. He gets killed by rebellion bombs that killed the people in the book. It's so hard. And so one thing,
Cassian Andor is really lucky she did not just like rip his head off.
Yeah, I know.
Did you read the novel for Rogue One?
No, it's one of the few that I don't have.
If you have a chance, you really should. I think it really improves the story.
Okay.
But it has where Cassian fully expects that if he manages to kill Jyn Erso, he's not making it back to base because Jyn's going to shoot him before he can get to her, and take her out. But he's like, no, she's going to kill me because she's going to realize what I'm doing.
Yeah. So that leads me then to Catalyst. I read Catalyst before Rogue One. I have it here. Catalyst.
I've not read Catalyst. I've read parts of it. I know. I've got it. It's literally, it's in the pile of stuff over there.
It's there.
I'm cleaning and rearranging. So there's a pile of stuff over there.
For the longest time, Catalyst was my favorite Star Wars canon book until Into the Dark showed up and Claudia Gray changed my view on the Jedi because she does that because she's so great.
I love her.
Catalyst was my favorite because of how well it meshes into Rogue One. Because a lot of people, Rogue One doesn't have a crawl. We don't know what's going on. If you read Catalyst, you don't need a crawl. You know exactly what's going on. You know why Lyra hates Krennic so much. Everything that's going on with Galen when he's talking about his mind is not there. Everything. How they met Saw, which is one of the questions we have. So then reading Rebel Rising, then you have this little trilogy of sorts, because Catalyst shows you everything before that happens with the Ersos and Krennic and Tarkin, that competition that they have trying to build the Death Star, and ends right where Rogue One starts, ends with them going to Lamu and hopefully starting a new life. Then you have the prologue to Rogue One. Jyn goes into the cave. And then that's when Rebel Rising jumps in and ends right when she's saved in the prison camp. And that's when Rogue One starts. So we have this little trilogy of sorts between these three mediums, which I find extremely entertaining and a different way to look at it. And then I got to check that Rogue One novelization, because that's a very interesting point that he knows, I'm not making it back. And
it's really a good background because obviously Rogue One takes you inside Jyn's head. Rebel Rising takes you in Jyn's head. The Rogue One novelization does a lot for Cassian, I feel.
Is that when they say that his family was part of the Separatists? Okay. And I hope they touch on that in the Andor series.
Alexander Freed, who did Alphabet Squadron, is the one who wrote that novelization.
When he loves his battles and doing those space battles. So.
And it's really cool because have you read Alphabet Squadron?
Yes, they're back there somewhere.
I was going to say with the how much Chas loves Jyn Erso, which I didn't. I totally cried. I've only read Alphabet Squadron.
She wants to go down in flames like that great Jyn Erso. She wants to be part of a martyr and die in one of these great battles.
Yep, but yeah,
There you go. I got.
Okay, so this is only I think I have at least one more of them and a couple of Black series, but again, I'm reorganizing. I actually have a new action figure today that I'm gonna. I've got a Followers of the Force broadcast after this, so if y'all want to see me unbox my mail from today,
there you go. Make sure you're following over there and watch Rachel unbox some toys.
Watch Rachel open her new Star Wars toys. But yeah, it's a really good novelization, and there's this quote from Mon Mothma at the end where she's summing up Jyn Erso, and she says, in a kinder world, she would have walked away from Scarif. I don't know what she would have become, but I think she would have been extraordinary.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
It does, and that goes one of the fan questions that we have at the end. Kind of ask something similar. What are you hiding there? I see you're hiding something.
I got I brought my reference books.
Yeah, you can see I have mine back here. I almost brought it out. But...
We can really hope that I don't need the art book because it's currently being used as the laptop stand that my laptop's sitting on.
Don't worry, I got the art book back here. Do I?
Okay.
Wait. Where is it? No. I don't have the art book for Rogue One. I have the visual guide, but not the art book.
The art book's really kind of cool. I get them all off something else. I don't know. I've got my Rogue One pillow, which is fun. I was trying to. My living room has been Rogue One decorated, so I didn't want to put another poster up. So when the art came out for the new the Star Wars Day this year, I bought the pillow.
Okay, cool. You gotta be comfortable, and if Star Wars makes you comfortable with this, grab a pillow.
I'm a grown-up. I can decorate how I want.
Whatever you want. I got plenty of Star Wars pillows laying around. So like Roberto is saying, the book Rebel Rising was a big surprise. What it did for Jyn and Saw is heartbreaking and amazing. And the great thing about, one of the great things about Rebel Rising and Saw Gerrera, because Saw is everywhere. He's in Rebels, Clone Wars, Bad Batch. He'll be in Andor. He's everywhere. But when we meet him in Rogue One, he's already descended into madness, basically. We've seen him a little bit in Rebels and stuff like that, but in Rebel Rising, we can see how he starts getting to the point that he's in Rogue One. He doesn't trust anyone, thinks there's spies everywhere, doesn't care if he's labeled a terrorist as long as he can hit the Empire, take a few people with him, civilians, I don't care. That's the price of war. So it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, it let us understand a little bit more of this character for when we meet him in Rogue One. So what were your thoughts reading Saw Gerrera in Rebel Rising?
I always, with watching him in Clone Wars and everything else, I understood, where he was coming from, that things need to change faster or, go harder. But it makes it really hard for me to like Saw Gerrera because of the emotions when he dumped Jyn.
Yes.
And I get that there's no other option, but it's the same thing as I said with Rise of Skywalker when they find out Rey's parents basically sold her to protect her. I'm like, you may not have a lot of options, but abandoning your child should not be one of them.
Yeah. The reason that he gives, you were already my best fighter in my cadres, is I was a child. You abandoned
I was 16.
me. Which again, Rebel Rising. That's what you gotta read. It shows you that. And it's because they go on this
and
lookout
she's obviously grown 16 because you grow up fast in bad times, but she still says I was 16.
Yeah, especially because when he picks her up from Lamu, he's her daughter. He kind of presents her as his daughter, and then starts training her. And we see this trainer of her shooting droids, and then when she's shooting clone troopers, they're empty shells, but she doesn't know this, and he gives him a blaster. Just shoot them. They're hanging from the neck. Maybe a little 10, 12-year-old at this point.
I was going to say, I think she's 8 when it starts.
Yeah. When I'm reading that, like, what the hell? So what are you doing? You're hanging clone troopers, and then, they're empty, but still, I show my kids, I have an 8-year-old. He's not going to be too happy. Okay, shoot that hanging guy there.
And
they're empty,
there's
but what
this moment too where because it shows that Lyra had taught Jyn how to use a blaster for if something happened, but Lyra had taught her to flick it to stun and put somebody down. But Saw tells her to shoot to kill. If you're going to shoot to kill.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, cool, she's 8.
Mr. Rest, Tony, how you doing, Tony? Thanks for joining us. It shows you the way Saw's mentality. He doesn't care. You need to grow, toughen up in this world. We're ants. It's something that someone else says later. We're ants. The Empire they don't care about ants. And Saw Gerrera, it doesn't matter. And we have to go out there and fight. It's not just a belief. It's one person with a sharp stick is the one that's going to make a difference. But then when it goes to that point, they go to the planet Tamsi Prime. They're just going to observe because the Empire has a weapons facility or something, a facility, and we're just doing a recon mission. But then everything goes to hell, and then that's when he dumps her. So just stay here. I'll come back in the morning and pick you up. He doesn't show up. And then that translates to what happens in Rogue One, where they have that great conversation.
You
Oh,
dumped me.
you dumped me, and then, oh, you were the most experienced person in my cadre, but are you here to kill me? Today of all days.
Yeah,
Did they send you
telling
to
me?
kill me? He's still in that crazy mentality since 15 years ago.
Yeah.
He's always feeling that someone's behind it. Doesn't matter his daughter, like you said, that he raised. You dubbed me. Come
Yeah.
on, why do you do that to a child?
There's also in Rebel Rising where she finds out that Saw has been sending people to keep an eye on her, that he wanted to make sure she was alive, but she knows he doesn't want her to contact him. And at the time she's like 17, maybe 18.
Yeah, it's hard because she didn't know. And then one thing that she says in the book and then translate to Rogue One, every time the rebellion or the rebels come to a planet to either check on her or try to get more recruits, the Empire is right behind them, bringing death and destruction to peaceful people that have want nothing to do with it. Here are the rebels, here are the Empire. Now they all die, which then cannot translate to Rogue One why she doesn't want anything to do with them. And she tells Saul
Doesn't
also,
matter if you don't look up.
yeah, if you don't look up, you can't see the Empire flags. But she tells him, oh, the Alliance, the rebels, whatever you call yourself this day, all it's brought me is pain. Freaking Rebel Rising, Beth Revis, I gotta give her up to her because she made me think, even though we know she's not gonna make it because we saw Rogue One, make me believe that she might have found a peaceful life with the Ponta family, with Akshaya, sorry, and Heather. This guy she meets, fall in love, have this relationship. Can she please give her a happy ending? I know it's not gonna happen. Just retcon it. I don't care. I love that for her. And then unfortunately, she's not gonna make that relationship's not gonna make it.
It really puts it in perspective because I know a lot of people before they read Rebel Rising, they said, Jyn, she was in prison. She knows what the Empire can do. It's really what people would call a privileged position to say, I just won't look up and it won't bother me when, there's people being forced into mines as slave, but no, I just won't look. And then you realize when you read Rebel Rising that there's a reason. And also if you look at, like, I've got the visual guide, Jyn's in Rogue One, she's only 21. She's not, she did not make it to the full brain development so she's still really young.
Yeah.
So it's natural that she has that kind of point of view that, everything, it's taken away everything from me. Maybe if I just ignore it, it will stop and I can just survive.
Yeah. Which then goes also, sorry, when Cassian says, oh, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. And he kind of says, oh, I didn't have the privilege of deciding when to fight. Jyn also has been in this fight basically since she was 8 when Saw took her to 21 when we meet in Rogue One. She's been in this war ever since she was still a pre-teen or whatever. So it's very heartbreaking. And then she's lost her mom, lost her dad, so lost that family, lost Saw, who was her family for 6 years of her life. And then she finds this family, takes her in. She doesn't have to do all these little side jobs that she was doing. And then unfortunately, here comes the rebellion. They're checking in on her, and here comes the Empire. And unfortunately, they're killed trying to escape. And she loses a third family. So, of course, she doesn't want anything to do with any of them. Which then, by the point she gets to Rogue One and decides to help, is also a great change or a great, I don't know, just a whole trajectory. Because she could have just said, I don't care, just you guys deal with it. Send me back to Wobani and I'll die in that prison. To just say, okay, I'll do something because that kyber crystal that my mom gave me is the thing keeping her alive. Another great thing about Rebel Rising is that we get more from Lyra, from Jyn Erso, that we see how important she was for Jyn, because that kyber crystal was a reminder of just keep hope alive. So reading a little bit more about Jyn Erso, one of those characters that we wish we could see more about. What were your thoughts through Rebel Rising, seeing how much Lyra gave to Jyn in terms of her personality and just overall that relationship?
I liked it. Lyra is one of the weird sticking points for Rogue One for me.
Mhm.
And it's going to sound kind of weird that I don't understand her choice to go for her husband which was she knew was not going to end well, versus staying with her child. I do not get it because she had to know that it was not going to work. But I mean, I can't really fault the choice someone makes while they're freaking out. But that's always just been the point for Rogue One for me, is that, why would you go to your husband versus keeping your kids safe? But it's the choice she made, and it's the choice she lives with, or that Jyn has to live with, that her mother chose to die.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she thought she was buying Jyn more time to get secure or what, but seeing how much of Lyra's personality is in Jyn, and later it kind of mirrors that in Rogue One, as much as, because Jyn, has lost her mother, and so therefore, idolizes her and hates her father. But, she always thinks she's very much Lyra, or she's learned from Lyra, or whatever in Rebel Rising. Then in Rogue One, you kind of find out how much she picked up from Galen along the way, too.
Mm-hmm. So one of the good things, I'll do another selling point for Catalyst. There's a lot of Lyra in this book, and you find out why she hates Krennic so much. Because and I don't want to spoil it for you, but they try different times to run away and get away from the Empire and get away from Krennic. And there's that flashback in Rogue One where they're in Coruscant and Krennic is there. They're having this party or whatever. Mm-hmm. Galen takes Jyn to bed, and then Krennic and Lyra stay in that balcony. That's in the book, and they have this conversation when she's basically calls him out, and we're not gonna do whatever you want us to do. You're evil and all this, and he's gonna, oh well, you're screwed because Galen is working for us. So you see that. So when she comes back and Krennic goes, oh, Lyra, troublesome as always. I'm like, yes, that's because we saw it in the book that she hates you. So I think she's always had this hate for Krennic for what he put her family through, that she's trying to end it. But he's surrounded by troopers. Even if she takes Krennic out, you have 4 death troopers or whatever, they're not going to make it out. So I do, again, as a parent, I love my wife, and I hope she will do the same for me. But just take care of the kids. They're only 8. Take them to safety. Maybe then you can,
and especially because she knows they don't want to hurt him, they want to take him.
Yeah.
I don't know, but also, you don't know what, because I know some of Lyra's backstory from Catalyst. I read parts of it, but it might end somebody who's had a lot of problems and been traumatized with stuff like Krennic. You might not always make the rational choice.
Again, there's a lot of the way when she gives birth to Lyra, it's where she gets, it's kind of traumatizing. It's at the beginning. I don't think it's a spoiler. It's in a prison. They're in a prison cell. She doesn't want to go back to that. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah. There's Star Wars is basically just untreated PTSD across 11 movies. Yeah.
They gives it to us because we're the ones that have to suffer with it with the years.
If the galaxy had a few therapists, I feel like.
Yes. When we did our Revenge of the Sith watch party, we're talking about if the Jedi only had a therapist in their group, a therapist Jedi, a lot of headaches could have been solved.
There was a therapy droid in Alphabet Squadron. I'm like, where has that been?
Send them to the Jedi. The Jedi have a Jedi librarian, Jedi seekers, all these different type of Jedi. You didn't have a Jedi therapist. Hey, Anakin, don't talk to Yoda. Go to the therapist. He'll help you with your...
At least the therapist might put his sentences in the correct English word. I'm actually wondering, bringing up Galen, I wonder if he will be an Andor, if you'll see some of that backstory as well, which might be fun. I love Mads Mikkelsen, so I've Casino Royale is also one of my favorite movies. So
it's my favorite. The new Bond is my favorite, and a lot of it has to do with him.
Mine too. I loved it. My friend and I watched all 24 Bond movies in lockdown. There are only 6 plots in all 24 movies, mind you.
Wants to
But
take over the world.
we started with Casino Royale and watched the new ones, and then went back and kind of
Yeah.
filled in. And he's like, okay, so now what's your favorite Bond movie? I'm just like, it's still Casino Royale. And he goes, we didn't have to watch all 24 to come to that conclusion.
We gotta make sure.
Look, I confirmed it.
There you go. That's one way. You did a study. You have to make sure it's not just a whim. We gotta make a whole study.
There was science involved.
There you go. So talking about Andor, because we know they've said Saw Gerrera is gonna be there. Krennic is gonna be there.
I
Do
really
you
hope
think there's
so.
gonna be either Lyra, Galen, even a young Jyn Erso might show up because the time frame works? I don't know.
The time frame would be, I think they're only 5 years before Rogue One for the majority of it. 5 or
Okay.
but I don't know if there's going to be flashbacks or what. I saw and Krennic and stuff like that, but again, Disney doesn't confirm everything. They just want to keep surprising us, and I'm like, this is really cool, but like, crumbs, Disney, crumbs.
Yeah, I know. I understand wanting to keep things secret, but some things don't make sense, especially when then they get leaked by a grainy picture on the rainy storm or something.
Yeah.
If it doesn't affect the plot, tell us that Saw Gerrera is going to be their Krennic or whoever, because it gets people more excited. People that might not, oh yeah, Rogue One, whatever. No, but look at all the characters. You don't need to tell me what they're going to be doing, but at least a little bit. Yeah. It's crumbs, like you said. Give us some crumbs.
I don't think we're going to see Jyn as we saw her at her, 16 to 18-year-old self that she would be at this time, because of Rebel Rising, we know pretty much where she is for most of it. And also Felicity Jones just had a baby last year. So I don't really think that she would be signing on for a television show right now, but I could be wrong. It's been a year.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure of the time period. If you say it's about 5 years
I think it
before
was
Rogue One,
5-ish.
then
5-ish
she's
or a
not
little
with
less.
she's not with Saw anymore. She's doing her own stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, give me her on this planet when she's with the Ponda family as a happy person, even just a little. Yeah, she's happy. Just give me that vision. That's all I want.
I love Beth for what she did in this book, but to give Jyn a first love that's that pure and then rip it away, because
Yeah,
I'm one of those people that I'm like, okay, Jyn and Cassian, they made out in that elevator, because if I was, I will be the first person to say, if I was stuck in an elevator with either Felicity Jones or Diego Luna, either, not picky, and I thought I was about to die, I'd kiss either one of them.
Yeah.
It'd be both.
That's a long elevator ride. I know we
It was
didn't
a long
just show us
elevator ride, and it was very poorly lit, and they
Yeah.
both knew they were probably going to die. I'm like,
It was a long walk to the beach. There was time.
I feel like you would have gone for it about that point. If you know you're going to die, what do you have to lose?
It doesn't matter.
But the fact that it's kind of like, you get the idea, again, using the Solo metaphor, you get the idea that Han and Leia's relationship is more mature because of Han and Kira's relationship and how it ended. So the fact that Jyn is a little more guarded because she's had her heart broken like it was before.
Yeah, it's
and not just broken from somebody walking away. She literally found a piece of his ship and realized he's gone.
Yeah, because she's waiting. She's waiting for them to be out of hyperspace. Tells that dog person, just when this ship gets here, just let me know. The Ponta one, call me because I'm waiting. And then she sees the blade or whatever stuck into her own ship with the name. And it's this person that she, like you said, not only became a family, but then have this romantic relationship. She feels safe with this person. And then the rebellion comes. He starts talking to people, starts getting his head filled with all these notions of the rebels. He's like, no, let's not go through this again. Of course, by the time she gets to Rogue One, rebels get out of here. Beth, why you do this to us?
I don't know. That's me. All Star Wars authors, I'm like, why? Why do you hurt me?
Yes. Next week is gonna be rough. Talking about
Rising Storm.
Know that I love you. It's so bad. So then we jump. We've been talking about Rogue One. Then we saw this cast announcement with this picture that we saw the main cast, and in the back that people thought it was this guy from A New Hope with the mustache. But we saw the great cast, and then for me, it's one of the, at least at that point, one of the most diverse casts in Star Wars. even though it's just one female character, but there's a lot of different people and backgrounds in it. And for me, at least, it's one of the best acted movies in Star Wars. Every actor in that movie is great. Diego, Galen, Matt Mickelson.
They
Uh,
got Forrest Whitaker in a
Forrest
Star
Whitaker.
Wars movie.
And he's great. I love Saw Gerrera in this movie. The way he
It's
talks, the
time
way
of
he,
his life.
yeah, it's
That was just my thing. I'm like, did you ever in your life think they would get Forrest Whitaker in a Star Wars movie?
yeah. And then all dressed up in his rebel armor with his bushy beard and his afro that they had, because first he was bald in the first images that we saw. But I love this Saw Gerrera. He's out of his mind. But when poor Bodhi Rook, they take this cover from his face and he finally saw Gerrera. Goes, are you Saw Gerrera? And he finally sees it. Oh, okay, you're Saw Gerrera. You're this rebel leader. And Saw's not. He's like, Bulgaret, you're a liar, and we're gonna wash your mind. I don't care what happens to you.
Borgullet is the stuff of nightmares. Just saying.
Yes. And of course, Matt Mickelson, great actor in everything that he does. He was in the MCU, he's in Star Wars, plus all his other movies that he's
going to be in Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones, come on. He made this movie, I don't remember the name. He's this teacher that gets accused of, I think, sexual assault for one of his students. It's a great movie. It's a foreign movie. I don't remember the name of it. It's a great one. Again, shows how big a great actor he is. And then Jyn Erso, and we know through Catalyst and Rogue One, unfortunately, that decision he has to make about leaving his daughter. Okay, she's with Saw, either she's dead or you're hidden so well that I'll never find you. But he still has this hope and gives that great speech, that message. Every time I hear him say Stardust, I get a little bit teary-eyed. Oh, I can't even say it now because even the thought of you and your mother makes me falter. It's like, no, that's us. Well, he does, and then she breaks down, falls on her knees. It's one of those moments, like I mentioned, just the acting. Yeah, it's a Star Wars movie, but the acting, and especially in Rogue One, from the whole cast is just outstanding.
It's great movie, great diverse ensemble, and it brought in, they brought in Donnie Yen for, his martial arts.
Yeah.
And some of the actors in it then have gone on to do more since then, with Riz Ahmed with his Sound of Metal as well.
Yeah. And
I also loved the stories about, the people who would take their dads who spoke with accents and take them to see it because Diego Luna uses his accent in the movie. And I'm like, there's just something in my eye, just a little something.
It's one of those things. I had people ask, because I'm from Puerto Rico, so I'm Hispanic, but I didn't, and I know how important representation is in Star Wars, and a lot of it has to do with talking with people here in this channel, which is one of the things that I love about being able to be in this spot right now, how important representation is. But it didn't touch me that way. Oh, it's a Hispanic actor playing in Star Wars with this Mexican accent. Because when I grew up in Star Wars in the 80s, because I'm old, I'm almost 41, I'll be 41 next week. We didn't have that. This is Star Wars, it's that character, and that's Luke Skywalker. We all want to be Jedi, so I kind of had that relationship. So it didn't hit me that way. But hearing Diego Luna do that interview and mention how he took his father and kept the Mexican accent, the way his father reacted, it touches you. And then you see, this is not, yes, it's Star Wars. They're famous people, but there's humans behind it. And seeing how he reacts just talking about Star Wars and his father reacting to seeing himself represented, plus it's his son, it's so touching that I wish more people could see it that way, that we keep getting these type of stories, because it's Star Wars, it's a popcorn movie. Yeah, but there's more behind it.
That's what I'm always telling people. I always say that I'm the most represented demographic in Star Wars as a white brunette woman. There's a lot of us. Apparently, that's all the galaxy has is white.
That was you in that poster you had behind you holding Cassian, but no.
Yeah, no. Wish. Anyway, but seeing, I never related to a character quite like I relate to Jyn until this movie. I mean, I was a Hermione girl growing up because weren't all the bookish kids of my generation. I'm 29. So, but the way I relate to Jyn is a way I've not related to a character in a long time, and I want other people to feel like I feel when I see somebody I relate that strongly to on screen. I mean, obviously, I have like 7 pieces of her merchandise scattered around me. I have a photo shoot where I cosplayed as her. It's something, it means the world to me, and it's meant the world in turbulent times. So that's what I want everyone to have, that feeling.
So I know you mentioned a little bit at the beginning, this movie came out 2016, everything that was going on politically in this country, but what was it specifically about Jyn that called you? Or that called to you, I guess?
Probably the fact that when the election of 2016 happened, and obviously Trump was declared the president, I was heartbroken because of his comments on women and the way I worried about friends of mine. So to see this movie where someone says, because at the time it felt hopeless, I don't think we can do anything.
Sure.
And that idea of what chance do we have? The question is, what choice? And I used that. I did a speech when the Mueller report came out, a speech in favor of impeachment, because everybody was saying, oh, why do we bother? The Senate won't convict and everything. Yeah. And I said, it's for precedence, that it's not what chance, it's what choice do we have? And taking the idea of taking that power back and working even when it's hard, even when, it might not be exactly what you want to do, and even when you may not have a great chance of success, but working for what you believe in is so important.
Yeah, it's one of those great quotes in Star Wars. I love my Star Wars quotes, and we always, John, especially talk about Rogue One. I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me, which is a great quote and something we can use in life. But there's a lot of important things mentioned in this movie, and that's one of them. What choice do we have is a very important, just as you mentioned, but for a lot of things out there in the real world. I'm going to start closing down. I know we have so much more that we can talk about Rogue One, but I want to get to some of the questions that we have. One thing that I don't think people talk too much about Rogue One I really appreciate is the score. So Michael Giacchino's score is extremely underappreciated. He had like 4 or 5 weeks to do this. And to me, I hear that it's just pure Star Wars. Every time a song from there comes, I just love it. So I see your reaction, but how much do you love this score by Michael Giacchino?
I love it so much. I tweeted at Michael Giacchino one day because I turn on, there's a track on it. It's the concert suite of Jyn and Jyn's theme and the Hope theme. And it's like, it's both my calm down and my pump up track. Like I act. So when I was getting ready for an audition and I turned it on and I screenshotted it and posted it and tagged him, and he liked my tweet, and I freaked out for like a good 5 minutes.
Of course.
But he also, when I was reading for a play festival, I'd have to read plays, but I can read at work, but I work in a server room. It's really noisy. So I'd put like orchestral music in my headphones to be able to focus. And I'm reading a play and it's not even sad, and I'm tearing up, and I'm like, why am I crying right now? I look at it. It's Your Father Would Be Proud. It's that ending track of Rogue. I don't even have to see the movie and it can make me cry. But I don't know. I may be weird. My phone actually rains. I think the track name is Confrontation on Edu, but it rains Jyn Erso's theme. Unless one of my friends call me, in which case it rains the Emperor's theme, so I know it's him.
No, don't answer that one.
Yeah, no, but it's a beautiful score, and it was the first time a Star Wars movie we'd had animation scored by other people, but this movie was the first one that wasn't scored by John Williams, and I just think it was hit out of the park.
Yeah,
and Michael Giacchino and my tear ducts apparently have issues with each other, because he also did Up, which, if you've ever, that married life segment at the beginning of, can't do it.
I skip a few parts in Up because I can watch the beginning and some parts at the end. I'll come back afterwards because I can't. I don't have the water in my eyes for now.
I went to see it at the drive-in and people were like, oh, it's this cute little kids movie, and I was like, I was not prepared. Prepared.
Yeah, we have a saying here at the house every time we're gonna watch a Pixar or Disney movies: no judging. Everyone can cry as much as they want. No judging here.
No, good.
So some other great quotes that I think we can apply in Star Wars in our life. It's trust goes both ways, that Jyn says at the beginning when they're boarding the U-Wing, which I love that design. And then, of course, Strongest Stars Have Hearts of Kyber, which also is talking about her and how important she is and how much of a good person she is. She just has it inside her. So those are two great quotes that we don't talk
Right.
about so much
Yeah.
as much as the other ones.
I did I did for Followers of the Force, we did top 10 lists and I chose top 10 quotes. And I told myself that I could only do three or I could only do five from Rogue One and I kept it down to three. And I tried to pick slightly different ones. I did What Chance Do We Have? The question is what choice?
Mhm.
And obviously rebellions are built on hope, which I have a sticker on my laptop that says that. That was on my Pride t-shirt this year. And the one that I don't think people talk about the moment enough is Krennic asks Jyn on the top of that data tower, "Who are you?" And she looks him straight in the eye and says, "You know who I am." When my friends and I did the reading of this, we had done the sequel trilogy first, and because everybody wanted to play the quirky characters, I ended up playing Rey. When somebody asks Rey who she is in The Last Jedi, she demurs to "the Resistance sent me,"
Mhm.
or "I'm nobody."
Yeah.
When somebody asks Jyn who she is, she looks them in the eye and says, "You know who I am." And there's something really strong about, you know who I am, you know why I'm here, I'm not going to hide it from you, and I know why I'm here.
It's. I think that's enough. We can end it right
Yeah.
there. Thank you. That's why I need people that see stories in a different way. Because even though I have on my list of great quotes, that's one that for me, yeah, it's a great. But yes, the way she says it, everything she's gone through because of Krennic, you know who I am. Oh, Rogue One is so great. It's not just Darth Vader and the great Scarif battle. There's so much. All right, so let's get into our questions from our friends. We love it when we post it out there. Hashtag Rebel Thoughts, and it's Rebel Thoughts. And we have some great questions today from a lot of great friends. Before we get to it, let's look one last shot at the chat. And we have Dale saying, somehow the music puts stardust in my eyes and they just water up. It does happen. Get a box of Kleenex and pass it around. You're right, Dale. That happens a lot with this movie. Right, so the first question that we got is from our friend up in Twitter, King Kyber, at King Kyber, and he asks, how do you think Galen and Lyra knew Saw? So I have the answer because it's in Catalyst. I know you haven't read it. You
Oh,
mind if
you won't spoil it for me. It's okay.
It's at the end, but basically there's a character in here that plays kind of both sides. So he's seeing what's going on and wants to help. And he's the one that tells Saw Gerrera, hey, I need you to help this family. So they meet up in this station. Galen, Lyra, and and Jyn are trying to we're done with Krennic, we're done with the Empire, we gotta go hide. And these characters say, just wait there, have someone from Onderon is coming to help you. And then Saw shows up, and then Saw is the one that takes them to Lamu, which is when we find them in Rogue One. So King Kyber, check Catalyst, it's there. It's a lot of great Saw Gerrera. And they met there. He just saved them, took them to this planet, and the rest is history. Good or bad, it is history. All right, so our next question, which is a two-part. We're going to do two here because it's from our friends, Jedi Geek Girl. She was here a few weeks ago talking about Dooku Jedi Lost. And also our friend that's in the chat, maybe he's still around, Roberto Dross. They asked a very similar question. Well, let's start with Jedi Geek Girl. She asked, a question. Would you like to see a show about Jyn during those, I believe it is 3 years on the run that the book jumps over? I feel like there is a lot there to be told. How about you? And then Roberto asks, Rebel Thoughts, there is a section of Jyn's life that we know little about right before she's captured. Do you think Lucasfilm should explore that time, and what media would you like it to be? So if I'm not mistaken, I went back to Rebel Rising, and there's a point when she's helping, or she's working with this what are they have this casino, and she's doing some jobs for them, and they're transporting some people, and they're slavers, basically taking these people as slaves to the Empire, and she kind of turns and does something, and they just go flying. So she saves the slaves and tells them, get out of here, the Empire just gonna, they want you for something, just the ship is yours. And then she's on the run, not on the run, but we don't know about her for a few years, because then the
They
book
just
says that she goes back to this 5 Point station, I think it says, and it's a couple of years later she returns to the station. So there's a couple of years that we don't know what she's doing. Is this something that interests you for that to be explored? See where she's
I
been?
think it could be. It could be more into like that criminal underworld we see in Solo, but it's also the idea that she doesn't realize that a lot of times she is helping the rebellion by helping the criminal underworld get around the Empire, because a lot of those people are being as well are working with the rebellion. I would love to see it. I don't know if you could get if it was live action, I'd really want it to be Felicity Jones. I don't know if you could get it with that. I was looking into, I haven't watched it yet, but they have those little Forces of Destiny shorts, and Jyn's in some of those. So if you could do it in animation, if they do it in like 2D animation like that, those are cute. I think they're adorable.
Yeah, I've seen those shorts, but I can't remember what hers were. So maybe kind of touch on this time period a little bit. I know
But
it's
I would love that. I mean, I could do it. They haven't made if you've seen the graphic and the comic adaptations of Rogue One, they're both cute. I mean, I could see it in a comic. Could be fun. Jyn in the criminal underworld.
yeah. I mean,
You could even
it's
meet up.
out
I mean, there's so many people she could meet up with at the in the time period with Kira. She could be running jobs with Han Solo, and
there.
then
And even in the have you read the Solo novelization?
yes, or
So
I've
at the
read
end,
the end.
okay, so the end when Enfys Nest goes to Saul to give him the coaxium, there's Jyn is there, a young Jyn. Maybe she met up with Kira. I mean, with Enfys Nest and are doing
Yeah.
something.
Oh, I would explode. I would
Yes,
explode.
that's
Just
something. And give me Enfys Nest in Andor. She has to be there at
love
some
her.
point. But
Love her.
yeah, it's everything. One of my dogs is called Enfys. So yes. So I think there's something there. I don't know if a full series is enough because I don't think there's enough time to explore there. But either short stories, some animation, a couple of episodes could work, and doing that underworld kind of not really helping the Empire, but really doing it without her knowing. She knows Enfys Nest, she knows all these people.
Yeah.
There might be something there.
There's a point where it says she's on Takanana for a year, and I'm like, let Jyn Erso meet Maz Kanata. I need it.
Yeah, that's another because Maz knows everyone in this
God,
run.
I
So
love Maz.
Solo, like you mentioned, Solo knows Maz, and we don't know when because they haven't seen each other in decades. So much, right?
There's a ton that you could do with it, and it, like literally, just give me the comic. If you want my $4 every few weeks, just do the comic run. I will hand the local comic guy the $4 every 2 weeks.
Oh, it's my Jyn Erso money.
Yeah.
If they can do like a Mascanada Castle anthology, every week is a different person that goes through, and then she's one of those that comes by and has her own story. Because in the Bad Batch, we have Sid as this person that knows everyone in the galaxy. Yeah. Maybe we have on the other end, you have Maz, and all these other people can go through it. We got
Legends, they used to do Tales of the Bounty Hunters, Tales of the Mos Eisley Cantina, Tales of Jabba's Palace. I want to do Tales of Maz's Castle. And
got it. So, Lucasfilm, check this episode out. We got stories.
Rain. I got ideas.
Comics, anything. We'll get it. So thank you. That's a great question. I haven't thought about it. It's one of those lines in the book. Yeah, she was been gone for 2 years. Oh, there's something there. All right. So our final question comes from Miss Norm 98 or at Miss Norm.
Missy.
And she says, hashtag Rebel Thoughts. I love when you guys use the hashtag. Thank you. If Jyn had survived, do you think she would have stayed with the rebellion? And what would she be doing throughout the original movies and sequel? This is a great question. Thank you, Misty, because it touches a little bit what you said that Mon Mothma mentions. I'll let you go first. So I gotta think about this. She would still be in the rebellion. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think she would be. The question about what she would be doing for the next couple of years, the correct answer is Cassian Andor is what she would.
There we go.
But yeah, I think she would have. Yeah.
That's a bad representation. They can do better. They're professional actors. They can.
It's me every time I see people get like within 5 feet of each other in a movie. I'm like, and kiss. But I think that she would have stayed in the rebellion because, I mean, when you get to the point that you're going to your own death to help someone, I think that, I mean, assuming at least she and Cassian made it off Scarif together, because I don't know if she'd continue on if he died of his injuries, because I don't know if Homegirl could go through that again without.
Yeah, I know.
She did it once. I think she'd be a rebel. I think she might end up. When I've read people's interpretations of this, some people think she was just a ground soldier. Some people think she'd go into intelligence with Cassian. And I think the way Jyn lived as a code breaker, she could definitely be very useful in rebel intelligence. So I bet she would have joined the rebel spy network and probably, I was about to say worked for Bail Organa, but we know how that ends too. God, that
Another
hurts.
part of Rogue One. Oh, I gotta go to Alderaan. Tell my people there's not gonna be peace. And no,
I think
go.
it was E.K. Johnston said that was the one reaction that everyone had in her showing was when Bail Organa was like, I'm going to go back to Alderaan. Everybody's like,
no, stop right there. But then it goes, oh, do we need someone that you trust? I trust her with my life. Oh, it's Leia.
Actually, over there on the wall, I have a line drawing somebody gave me because it was like they do a drawing for you if you donated so much to the refugees at the southern border. So when I made my donation, I requested Jyn and Leia, because I thought that if Jyn had survived, they'd both lost everything in a very short period of time. They would have been fast friends. So I think she could have been somebody. I mean, that's what Leia honestly probably needed during the Hoth years, was somebody to talk to.
She's been a senator, Princess Warrior, since like 16, even before in that great, again, Claudia Gray, her novel, that Leia, Princess of Alderaan novel, is one of my favorites. But Leia needed someone similar in age, a little bit older, to kind of help her through that time period. But yes, I think she would still be a rebel, because at this point, what choice that we have? She's not just going to walk away. If Cassian had died, we'll see. But I think she would still be a rebel. I love that they made her this code breaker, making all these different. Because every time in every Star Wars movie, oh, we have this old code. How did they find all this code? And knowing that she's the one that broke.
She'll make it Rise of Skywalker, and she'll be able to read Sith.
Yeah, we don't need C-3PO. Making her a code replicator and doing all the data files was a great way to show that the other way that you can fight in this war. And I think, like you said, she could be a spy or be in intelligence with Cassian. Again, she could do whatever she wants, starting with Cassian, like you said. So I think that's it. Thank you, Rachel. I know we could keep talking about this great book in Rebel Rising by Beth Revis. Keep talking more about Rogue One. Once you read Catalyst, I'm sure you have more thoughts about it.
Yeah, I got to read Catalyst. You've got to read the Rogue One novelization. We'll circle back.
Come back. We'll talk about everything. It will be just a big Rogue One podcast from now on. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, of course. We'll do it again sometime. Find something else. Tell people out there where they can find you.
You can find me if you want to hear my thoughts about anything. I am on Twitter at Built on Stardust. If you want to see my other projects, I'm on the Followers of the Force podcast, and we do a live stream happy hour on Saturday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern, as well as releasing podcasts and doing news shows. So if you ever want to catch me there, and I'm also hang out in the Radio Rebellion Discord if you ever have thoughts over there.
Gotta go. I'll put it again on Twitter. I'll send it out. I don't have it open for everyone. I've heard sometimes Discord gets all crazy with people, but the small group that we have there is really great. I'll put it out there on Twitter again. We have our general page and we talk about everything. We have some great spoiler pages talking about Rising Storm, all the books, Bad Batch. We keep it civil. We have time for gatekeeping or talking crap. I know there was a comment here that I didn't post, as someone said something at the beginning for next week's guests. Just get that out of here. I thank that you support the show, but we're here for everyone. If you don't like, don't show up that week. Like you said, I guess that you don't like, don't show up that week. Don't talk bad about people, because that's not what Star Wars is about. That's not what we're about here. And we'll finish up. Thank you, Dale. He's saying good to meet you, Rachel. Meet Roberto in the chat. And then, Roberto, Awesome show. Thank you. And thanks for your question, Roberto. Every time you show up, I say, I got to get you on the show. We'll talk about your great art. If you guys haven't seen Roberto's art on Twitter and on his page, you got to see it.
So good.
Go support. He's one of the greats doing a great mural, I think it is. It's going to break our hearts. I know you're working hard on it.
Effort.
Oh, that Anakin Padme, we want to see it, but I don't want to see it because we're just going to break. So, Roberto, following that Star Wars tradition of breaking our hearts with great art out there. So for me, you guys, if you're watching this, I think you know where to find me. Down, you can say down there, Twitter and Instagram at Radio Rebel Pod. Discord, I'll put the description later down if someone wants to join. And where else? I don't know. I got a link tree somewhere. You can find me everywhere. Just write Radio Rebellion. We do our podcast, audio podcast shows up Monday on all your podcast listening stations. And I think that's it. So thank you guys. Thank you, Rachel. Stay safe. Be safe. And may the force be with you.
Radio Rebellion.